The Young and the Restless Tuesday, August 25th recap. Claire calls Kyle a snake. Nate flusters Stephanie. The Young and the Restless YNR recap for Tuesday, August 25th reveals that Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, will grill Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller, about his ulterior motives. Stephanie Simmons, Vivica A. Fox, will also get a bit rattled over her growing connection to Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic. So let's talk about Tuesday's exciting YNR episode. At Nate's place, he'll swap medical career origin stories with Stephanie and admit he'll return to Memorial whether he can become a surgeon again or not. Stephanie will seem a little flustered after a warm moment with Nate and will hurry on the elevator when Devin Winters, Brighton James, crosses paths with her in the hallway. Devin will join Nate in his penthouse, where he'll want to discuss how they can get Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, to let go of her Chancellor fight. At Crimson Lights, Lily will bump into Stephanie, so they'll talk about Nate's return to medicine and Holden Novak's, Nathan Owens' decision to side with his family over Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson. At Society, Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, will speak with Diane Jenkins Abbott, Susan Walters, about Lily's offer to pay off the loan with interest. Diane will insist Jack needs to stay out of this and let Lily take the offer to Billy instead. Diane will also pitch the idea of going off on a romantic getaway together. Jack will think that sounds wonderful, but he'll mention that he agreed to help Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, when he gets out of rehab. Diane will grumble about the favor to Nikki and the risk to Jack's sobriety, but Jack will reassure her. Since Nick will still be in rehab for a while, Jack will relent on the trip and think the timing could be perfect. At the Park Cafe, Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, will cross paths with Kyle and admit she's been looking into some past information at Newman. After Victoria brings up Vibrante, Kyle will recall that it was the company Victor Newman, Eric Braden, agreed to fund when he was having Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, seduce him. Victoria will insist the Vibrante-Jabo rivalry plan that Kyle and Audra cooked up was a good one. It turns out Victoria will want to bring back Vibrante and use a cosmetics battle to shift the public's focus away from all the takeover drama. Kyle will worry that even a fake rivalry could mean playing with fire, especially since Victor doesn't know about this plan yet. However, Victoria will feel confident she can handle Victor and will get Kyle to agree to a tentative agreement, though he'll need Jack's approval too. Claire will arrive to find Kyle and Victoria shaking hands, so she'll quiz Kyle once Victoria leaves. Kyle will explain the Vibrante-Jabo battle idea, but Claire will ask if this plan is a sneaky way to get revenge on the Newmans, using Victoria. At the Newman Ranch, Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, will talk to Victor about her visit to see Nick in rehab. Victor will also learn that Nick wants to see him tomorrow morning. Since Nick already seems to be doing better without Jack's involvement, Victor will try to shut down Nikki's idea of Jack being their son's sponsor. After Victoria arrives and finds out about her parents' disagreement, she'll suggest Nick should be the one to decide whether he wants Jack's help. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Nick has more struggles ahead of him, so stay tuned for any other difficult news to come. The Young and the Restless Tuesday, August 25th recap. Claire calls Kyle a snake. Nate flusters Stephanie. The Young and the Restless delivered another emotional roller coaster on Tuesday, August 25th, as relationships cracked under pressure. Sharp accusations flew, and unexpected chemistry caught everyone off guard. Claire reached her breaking point with Kyle and didn't hesitate to brand him a snake, while Nate found himself surprisingly flustered during a tense encounter with Stephanie. Here's a full recap of all the drama that unfolded. Claire's trust in Kyle completely shatters. Claire had hoped Kyle would finally be honest with her, but those hopes disappeared in an instant. After piecing together his latest questionable decisions, she confronted him with a mixture of hurt and fury. The conversation quickly spiraled into one of their ugliest clashes yet. Claire accused Kyle of saying whatever benefited him in the moment instead of telling the truth. Every explanation Kyle offered only seemed to convince her that he was hiding even more. Finally, Claire delivered the line that stunned Kyle into silence. The accusation landed hard because it wasn't just about one lie. Claire made it clear that she believed Kyle had become someone she could no longer trust, and the disappointment in her voice hurt even more than the anger. Kyle insisted he wasn't trying to manipulate her, arguing that his intentions had been misunderstood. Unfortunately for him, Claire wasn't interested in excuses anymore. She walked away convinced that Kyle's pattern of secrecy had finally exposed his true colors. Kyle faces the consequences. Left alone after Claire's exit, Kyle struggled to process the damage. For someone accustomed to finding a way back into people's good graces, this felt different. Claire's words suggested she wasn't simply upset. She believed his character itself was flawed. That realization could create major complications moving forward, especially as Kyle tries to protect both his reputation and his future relationships. If Claire starts sharing her perspective with others, Kyle may discover that rebuilding trust becomes far more difficult than he expected. Nate meets an unexpected challenge. Elsewhere, Nate found himself caught off guard during an encounter with Stephanie. Normally confident and composed, Nate suddenly seemed unusually unsettled whenever Stephanie challenged him. Their conversation began professionally enough before shifting into more personal territory, creating an atmosphere neither of them had anticipated. Stephanie proved she wasn't intimidated by Nate's usual confidence. Instead, she matched his wit, questioned his assumptions, and forced him to think twice before responding. For perhaps the first time in a while, Nate looked genuinely flustered. Stephanie keeps Nate guessing. Stephanie seemed to enjoy watching Nate lose his usual composure, whether she was teasing him intentionally or simply speaking her mind. Every exchange pushed Nate further off balance. His hesitation became increasingly noticeable, creating moments of awkward silence that only strengthened Stephanie's advantage. The interaction hinted that this dynamic could become much more interesting in the weeks ahead. Rather than falling into predictable flirtation, the two established a relationship built on verbal sparring, mutual curiosity, and just enough tension to keep viewers wondering what comes next. Family and business pressures continued to build. Beyond the personal confrontations, larger conflicts continued simmering beneath the surface. The Newman and Abbott circles remained filled with shifting alliances, hidden agendas, and growing mistrust. Every conversation now seems to carry double meanings as characters try to protect themselves from the next betrayal. Kyle's problems with Claire may eventually ripple into broader family drama, especially if others begin questioning his recent behavior. Meanwhile, Nate's evolving connection with Stephanie could introduce unexpected complications into both his professional and personal life. Emotions reach a breaking point. One of the episode's biggest strengths was its emotional intensity. Claire's confrontation worked because it wasn't fueled by blind rage alone. Her frustration reflected accumulated disappointment, making her snake accusation feel like the culmination of weeks of growing suspicion. Similarly, Nate's scene succeeded because they revealed a different side of his personality. Instead of appearing perfectly in control, viewers saw someone momentarily vulnerable, a refreshing change that made his scenes with Stephanie even more compelling. What's next in Genoa City? Tuesday's episode leaves several important questions hanging. Can Kyle repair the damage with Claire, or has her trust been destroyed permanently? Will Stephanie continue challenging Nate until undeniable romantic tension emerges between them? And how will these personal conflicts affect the larger power struggles already unfolding throughout Genoa City? With emotions running high and alliances constantly shifting, the fallout from these confrontations is only beginning. Claire's explosive rejection of Kyle could become a turning point that changes multiple relationships, while Nate's surprising vulnerability around Stephanie hints that an entirely new chapter may be starting.